David, are you able to hear us?
Lori, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys.
Oh, great. Okay. How about you, Lori? Lori? Yes, we see you. Yes. Can you hear us?
Yeah, sorry guys. I looked at the email I got, had a Zoom, a Google Meets meeting at the very top of it, and that's where Lori and I was sitting.
Yeah. No problem. Alex, you're there. Will, you're there. David, you're here, there, and I'm here. So why don't we go ahead and get started? Call meeting to order at 7:06. Would you like to do roll call for us?
Okay. Alexandria,
Yep, here.
David,
I'm here.
Dawn,
Present.
Nicola, absent. Will,
I'm here.
Lori.
Oh, Lori has disappeared, but we're gonna go ahead and keep going. Next item is public comment. I see a couple of names. One very familiar to me, Susan Drew. Are you joining us for public comment tonight or just hanging out with us?
I'm just hanging out.
Okay, don't have anything to share?
Not that I know of. Thank you.
Okay, okay, no problem. Janelle, welcome. Janelle, are you there? Am I pronouncing it correctly? I see a hand raised. That's our Kristen. Janelle, can you hear us? There you are. Can you talk? No? Okay, well, don't go away. If you can restore your volume, that'd be great. Let us know if and when you do. And we'll invite you to make any comments you wish to make. In the meantime, we'll continue moving. On our consent agenda, we have 2 sets of minutes. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to review them. Are there any corrections to either set with the consent agenda? We can just need one motion to approve the consent agenda and we'll automatically take care of both of them for us. Is there anybody that would like to make that motion?
I move to approve.
Got it.
Okay. Go ahead, David.
Sorry guys, I didn't mean that.
Was that a second?
I'll go ahead and second. I don't think.
All righty. Okay, it's been moved and approved. All those in favor say aye.
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 Perfect. All righty. Changes to the agenda. We're gonna change the order a little tiny bit here and do 6.2 instead of ahead of 6.1. Then we'll come back to 6.1. So with that, I'll turn it over to Rochelle.
Yeah, so good evening. Tonight with us, we have Melissa, I'm sorry, I not get your last name, and Shelley Dennison. What's your last name, Melissa? It's Grant. Grant, perfect. And they are here with us tonight to talk about the comprehensive plan, Sandy 2050. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to Shelley.
Thank you. I think, I don't know if I've met you. I'm Chelsea. Chelsea, I'm the executive assistant for Parks and Rec. Oh, okay, cool. How long have you been with the city? 2 months. Okay, cool. Awesome. So my name's Shelley. I'm an associate planner in development services. And like Rachel said, we are working on updating the city's comprehensive plan. This is Melissa. She's on our community advisory committee for the comprehensive plan. So if you're not familiar with what a comprehensive plan is, it's a 20 to 30 year high-level guiding document for a jurisdiction, in this case, the city of Sandy. Our last comprehensive plan was written in '97, which Sandy has changed and grown a lot since then. So it is high time for us to update our comprehensive plan to reflect the needs of Sandy and what the needs of Sandy are going to be over the next 30 years. So part of this process is what we call visioning. It's the first 6 months of the project. And during the visioning stage, we're doing a lot of public engagement, a lot of public outreach with different groups, advisory groups with the city, committees, resident groups. We're at farmers markets, we're at the Mountain Festival, right? We have an online presence. We're doing a lot of outreach and engagement with members of the Sandy community to get a solid understanding of what the values are, what the priorities are, what people want to see change in Sandy, and what people want to see sustained and protected in Sandy. So we're taking all of this information that we're gathering, all of this data, filing it, pulling out some common themes, and developing a vision statement with those themes. And then that vision statement is going to guide the goals and policy recommendations there on the comprehensive plan. So our hope is that you can draw a direct line between what members of the community say they want to see Sandy be in 30 years and what the actual policy recommendations are, right? So tonight we're having what we call a community conversation, which is kind of a focus group, I guess. But we've had these with all of the different advisory groups and boards and everything associated with the city. So Melissa's going to take notes. This is 3 kind of very high level, big picture questions. Let's step this up. Facing. So. Melissa's gonna take notes. So this is like I said, 3 very high level questions. And we're interested in your experience working with Parks and Rec. We're interested in your experience living in Sandy, working in Sandy. You don't need to have any like special technical knowledge other than your association with Parks and Recreation. So the first question, why did you choose to live in Sandy? And folks online, you are absolutely welcome to participate.
Well, I'll go ahead and start off. Why I chose to live in Sandy. My wife and I were relatively new comers to Sandy. We moved here 4 years ago, I guess it was. We had spent a lot of time looking for places to live. We were previously living down south in Southern Oregon, in Eugene, and our children and grandchildren were here. So up in the Portland area, so we knew we were going to move to Portland. We did not envision living as far out as Sandy. In fact, we were commuting from Eugene to babysit. We'd be looking for houses at the same time, and we'd get halfway up, and our real estate person would say, "Sorry, that house sold. We were coming for better people." So we intensified our search and spread it out a little bit. We just found Sandy to be a nice small town feel. At the time, it was very affordable compared to the rest of the metropolitan area, and it kind of fit the bill as far as the home that we actually found was really what we were looking for, which was a nice single story, no stairs, and home. And they're really hard to find those.
Yeah.
On a lot that's reasonably able to accommodate. No, I think in a grand scheme, we would like to have a little bit bigger lot, 1,000 square feet. 7,500 square feet, and they're still available in Sandy. That's not the case in the rest of the Portland area. So I guess going forward, my hope is that those kind of lots will remain available.
Okay.
People to build a single story.
Single story house. Okay. What year did you move to Sandy?
About 4 years ago, so we've been 18.
Okay.
Okay.
So you had family up here and
Up in the metropolitan.
in the metropolitan area, yeah. And then it was accessible and affordable.
Yep.
Okay,
How about the rest of the team here? David, how long have you been in Sandy?
Well, I actually grew up out here in Sandy. Then my family moved away in the early 90s because of the shipyards actually closed down in like 92, I think it was. And that's where my stepdad worked. So he moved where he could find work. And then when my kids were born in 2008, I said, Sandy is my home. And I came back and been here ever since.
what about Sandy makes it feel like home to you?
It's just the small, I like the small community. For the most part, I like the fact that we're away from Portland. Just there's less issues out here sometimes. It seems like we're getting bigger these days, which, I mean, I know every place needs growth, but you know, I could hope.
Yeah. Okay. So it felt like home because it kind of had that community feel. Would you say that's true?
I missed that last part you cut out.
Oh, sorry. So you were saying it kind of has like a small town community feel, and that's what
Yeah.
makes it like home. Okay. Cool.
I mean, your coffee shops remember your drink. The
Yeah.
store clerks remember who you are. You know, they talk to you still. It's not just always rush. The post office still knows people when they walk in. I mean, it just feels nice to come in.
Yeah. Awesome.
Alex, how about you? What brought you to Sandy?
Yeah, so I've been here going on 7 years almost. Before this, I lived in Boring. My mom's from Boring, and I'm from nowhere close to here. But I grew up in a smaller community, surrounded just by schools and community events and all of that stuff. And Sandy just had that for me. As I'm growing a family, it's just convenient and it's away from Portland because I used to work down there. And so I don't want to commute anymore. And I feel like I have everything. And like David said, like everybody's super friendly here. I don't have to go very far to see a smile, and it's just really nice. Everything's just really, it's really clean here too. I have to give kudos to the people that work around the city because you don't see that everywhere. So it's very inviting.
And Will, what brought you to Sandy?
What'd you say, Will?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I heard Bill. I thought maybe there's another one of us on the call. Hey, you know, I moved to Portland area in '92 from New Hampshire, and which is a lot like Oregon, except colder. And shopped for school districts at the time and ended up in Beaverton. When the kids got out of school in 2001, I was looking for a place closer to the forest and still able to commute from the airport. And Sandy fit the bill. And little did I know what a great school system we had. I brag about it nowadays. So I've been here since 2001. I was living out about 3 miles north of town and just moved into the city proper about 2.5 years ago. And that's when I got involved in the Parks and Trails Board and really got a sense of community out in the orchard, out in nursery country. I really didn't have that same sense. I was a little detached, a little isolated, and been so pleased that I made the move. In fact, I just moved onto a new property in January, still in town. I mean, for example, I took the dogs for a walk on my lunch hour today, and I stopped and talked to three people that I ran into and just chatted with that I knew. And that's just nice. It's got a nice feel to it for me. So I still like the close proximity to Portland. I think it offers a lot. And I'm on the edge of the Mountain Hood National Forest where I spend a lot of time. So it's a good balance for me.
So kind of like that proximity to, you know, a big city when you need to go into a big city, but also proximity to, you know, wild areas, natural areas. Sounds important.
Yeah, I still fly a lot. And, you know, I've probably been, now that the pandemic has eased up a bit, I've been to like 3 concerts and went and saw Pretty Woman at the Keller last week. I mean, to still have that opportunity and yet go hiking or go skiing for a half a day without worried about it. So it's just
Yeah.
a great balance for me.
Yeah. And another thing I'm hearing is like relationships, right? Knowing who your neighbors are seems really important. It seems like, yeah,
Yeah, connection.
right, yeah. Sure. Cool. What else? Rochelle, you don't live in Sandy? No. Do you live in Sandy?
I do live in Sandy.
Why did you want to live in Sandy?
Kind of a lot of the reasons that already been stated. I lived in Portland, family was expanding, we were looking for other houses. One of the things we noticed that we were just kind of priced out there. I grew up in Seaside, which is a community that reminds me very much of Sandy, just replace an ocean with a pretty awesome mountain. But yeah, all those same reasons. Further away from the city, but still close enough to go take advantage of it. Smaller town, community feel, a neighborhood has like neighbors and sidewalks and a park that's close by. That means a lot to me. And then probably most importantly, my family is here, so be close to my family.
Yeah. Cool. So some of kind of the common things that I'm hearing is, that small town feel is really appealing. That's one of the reasons why people like living in Sandy is because you have the opportunities to sort of create those relationships with your neighbors, that it's kind of a slower pace, a little more rural, a little more wild. That seems to be one of the recurring things that, is really important to people and people really want to see maintained about Sandy. Cool. Anything else? Any other reasons why you chose to live in Sandy?
Citizens, or
Sure.
how'd you do that?
Yeah. Anyone online, Janelle or Susan? Or Lori, if you want to chime in.
Anybody jumping at the opportunity, or
Just you right now, go ahead.
just me? I'm golfing. Sorry, guys. I'm playing in a golf league, so tonight was the night. So let's see. My family moved to Sandy in '86, and I graduated from high school in Sandy. Left to go to college. Got my teaching certificate, and so I started working for the school district, and then started volunteering at the fire department. Got hired with them. I live in Sandy because of like what a lot of you guys said is close proximity to the mountain, close proximity to the gorge, not that far from the coast, a lot of things to do. So small community, although I will tell you that when my family moved to Sandy in '86, there was 3,500 people. So it has grown quite a bit. But like a lot of you guys, I know quite a few people, so it definitely feels like home. That's all I got.
Cool. Awesome. So we'll move on to our second question, which is related to this one. And I'm sure there's going to be overlap, but the second question is, what are things that the city has now? What are assets that the city has now that you want to see sustained? That you want to make sure we don't lose?
Well, I think the obvious one for me is a wonderful park system.
Yeah.
It's growing,
Yeah.
not stagnant, not regressing, but actually growing, moving forward. We just recently got our master plan adopted and completed, and moving forward and trying to hopefully gather those people together. We have opportunities at the community campus, I can't remember what to call it.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see some momentum pick up along those lines.
Yeah.
But I also, hope that the small town feel keeps going. It's kind of exciting to see that the Pioneer Days are back and survived the pandemic. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
And just some of the small community events, the sportsman's breakfast, it's silly as that sounds, but it's stuff that builds the community. It's in touch with each other.
Yeah, those community events and those face-to-face interactions are so important.
And we've been missing those for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And a lot of the places, a lot of communities haven't been fortunate enough to build revive those types of activities for St. Louis.
Mhm.
So it's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's what I got. Alex, do you want to take a stab at that question?
Gosh, I think you covered everything I was thinking about, Don.
I challenged it.
Yeah, no, I'm just excited about like some of the, parks and the trails just continuing to grow and maintaining those, because I think like I'm out on those all the time. So I would hate for those to go away or kind of go run down in some way. So maintaining those, and then those community events are huge for me, especially for families, and being able to like keep that going for generations. I think that'll be so important, to maintain it as a community, to get people involved from such a young age. So I remember when I was younger and just visiting, in the summertime, going to festivals and stuff like that, not even from here, but I remember that now. And now that I live here, I take my own kids. So it's pretty great.
Yeah. Yeah. This year's the 50th anniversary of Mountain Festival.
So excited.
Impressive. And that's, amazing that a town this size has been able to keep that momentum, that kind of investment, right, from the people who live here to keep those things going. Yeah. What else? What else should we make sure that we keep around for the next 30 years?
Will, do you got any input for us?
Yeah, a little different tact. I mean, I like the cultural events, and that's something that we can control to keep the small community feel, but you can't control everything. But one thing we can control is our assets, and holding on to dirt. I don't know what the Donism is it for, but it's something like you can't invent land. And so holding on to our physical assets, even though that we may not have a plan or the finances to develop them, you will someday, and you just can't get that stuff back once it's gone. So
Right.
Holding on to those dirt assets. And I'm also, I think we've seen certain amount of growth boundaries work. This is on a different tack, but I just like keeping the feel of that Sandy is still has some rural aspect to it, and doesn't have a lot of sprawl. So that's a kind of a big one for me.
And David?
Yes.
Do you want to chime in on this question?
What was the question?
What kinds of assets does Sandy have that we should make sure we protect?
I don't know if that's really a question for me, because I don't feel that we have enough of the assets. From the very beginning when I joined this, I've been a sponsor for wanting our own baseball field and sports fields, and I'm drawing to a dead end on that. And so, I fully believe that we need that in the city of Sandy, because every small town, Estacada, Oregon City, Gresham, they all have their own city-ran sports complexes, and here we are with relying on the Oregon Trail School District,
Right.
and we don't have anything. Yeah, we have great parks, we have great trails. We no longer have the pool, and even Gresham has their own pool. It's just, we really need something that belongs to the city other than parks and trails, and we just don't have it.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna hold on to that for the next question. Because we're gonna be talking about what we do need, right? What changes we do want to see. Yeah, I want to dig into this this idea of a small town feel, right? This idea of a small town community. What does that mean to you, right? What are the things that are characteristic of a small town? Yeah.
I can speak to it a little bit on a different front too. I love the fact when you drive through town, you're not seeing a bunch of cookie cutter restaurants and businesses. That those all seem local. The restaurants we have here, and there's Red Robin's great, Olive Garden's great.
Yeah.
There's room for those things, but I like that what we have to offer is unique to Sandy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's local. It kind of gives that place identity, right? What else is it about living in a small town that's appealing?
I think a lot of it was said, but then goes along with just knowing your neighbors, knowing who to talk to, being able to ask for resources. People actually know
Yeah.
how to find those resources, get information out
Yeah.
to folks. And, the small town parade, the grocery store clerks that know you, different things, I think are all gonna contribute to that feeling
Mhm.
of community.
Mhm.
For me, it's safety. It's safety, it's security. I mean, every police department in all the cities around us are struggling to hire, are struggling to staff themselves, and here we are sitting with a full staff plus. Our cops respond when we call them. They're patrolling around, they're doing their jobs, they're amazing. They're parked out, they're making sure speeders aren't going through the neighborhoods. I mean, it's just, it's safety for us. I can trust that my kids can go to Joe's Donuts and buy a donut and come home.
Mhm. Okay. Anything else? Anyone else want to add anything about what about the city today should be sustained? Sure. Okay. So the third question is, what needs to be improved, right? What needs to change? Thinking about kind of the trajectories that the city is on, how should that shift to create the Sandy of 2050 that we want to see? What needs to change?
I think we need more stuff for the community other than parks and trails. We need to bring back the pool. We need to bring, we need to stop relying on the school district. Yes, they have wonderful fields. Yes, the taxpayers paid for them, but we don't have control over them. They control it. They tell us when we can be on it. They charge a fee for us to be on it. They tell us when they don't want us on it, and they have full control over it. And I don't feel, and I know the rest of the town doesn't feel that they even have the right to use it. They keep fences, they keep it locked, they keep it shut down. You have to call and ask permission for property that we already paid for.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's right. And I believe if the city of Sandy had a field and a complex that was open for the taxpayers, since we paid for one already, then it actually makes it so we have the ability to utilize it. There's nothing. I mean, we have great people. We have friendly people at our post office, at our grocery stores, at our gas stations. Everybody remembers everybody within the city commerce. But there's, other than parks and trails, that's all we have. We don't have anything else for the kids to do. The skate park is become kind of a place where the more rambunctious kids hang out. The last time I was there, I couldn't even get a kid to quit smoking pot right in the skate park, and that was during a more of a COVID area where we were lacking in the response times to have an officer. I mean, an officer did call me back, and he did come down and check it out, but unfortunately, it was quite a bit of time later, and I had already left and given up on the situation. But and like I said, we have hired like 4 officers since that time. So I mean, we were lacking at that point. But there's really not a whole lot for the residents to do.
Yeah. So
I love the mountain. I love the mountain. I love to go hiking. I love to use the trails, but I don't want to do it every day. I love steak, but I don't eat that every day. So
yeah. So it sounds like being intentional about having a variety of public recreation opportunities in the city, right? Owned by the city. Yeah.
Correct. Things that, and I know you say owned by the city, but it's really owned by the people.
Right.
I mean,
owned by the community. Yeah.
The city still has the ability to lock it down, but we don't lock it down nearly as strict or as, what's the word I'm thinking of? Strict or it's not like Mining Park has a gate over the parking lot. I think the only time in the 13 years that I've been back to Sandy that I've seen it locked is when Mining Lake shows up. Then they shut it down and make it so tell the parking lot safe because, well, it's a lake at that point.
And you could still access the park by going to the upper hand, you just can't access the parking lot. So, you know,
Right.
yeah, we have the ability as the city, because we are managers of it, to say, hey, this isn't usable at the time, but it doesn't get locked down permanently, and you definitely don't have to ask permission to use it. You can just go play, you can go walk it, you can go do what you want with it, because it's our property. And that's exactly how the fields at the school needs to be ran. Granted, it needs to be managed. Granted, we can't go and destroy it, but it needs to be a lot less than what it is.
Yeah, yeah. So not just, you know, having a variety of recreational opportunities in the city, but making sure that they're actually accessible for the community to use. Yeah, 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 that's really important.
Will, would you like to contribute to this one?
This is a stretch, but I just wish there was more cooperation between ODOT and the city of Sandy on traffic signals on 26, especially walk signs. Yeah, I mean, I get that we're live on a highway, but it can be frustrating when you're waiting to cross, or when traffic's backed up on a left turn lane coming out of the post office or the high school or at schools when they're getting out. So, but I doubt there's much we can do there. It's just more of a pet peeve, I guess.
Yeah.
How about you, Alex?
I don't think I have anything really additional. I agree with what David's saying around just accessibility to a variety of activities. I mean, right now I'm going to Portland just to go swimming, so I can afford it. I don't want to do that all the time. So, you know, being able to bring something back to the community that we can, you know, I don't want to have to go to Portland to do all of these activities I used to do several years ago here in Sandy, in Sandy. So just love to see something like that back in the near future.
I guess from my perspective, my one great wish of what I believe needs to change is I wish we did not have a highway that was our main street.
Yeah.
I wish we had, bypass.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe like what happens out in, John Newburgh there, I think a little community out that way, but they built a bypass around it, everyone's afraid all the businesses are gonna close, and they didn't, they thrived. And their citizens are coming downtown, and people will still go downtown if they want to get something. People who are right into the mountain will still come through Main Street if they need gas, or if they need to stop at the food carts, or if they need to make a sandwich, or go to a restaurant, or any other service.
Right.
Joe's Donuts. Gotta get that donut before they.
Right, yeah.
I don't believe it will hurt us. I believe it will only foster more improvement or growth.
Yeah. Okay. What else? What else needs to be improved?
It needs to be improved, but as our demographics change and towns getting bigger, I don't know what our school system's like for capacity of how many students per class per school. I think this would be a long-term plan, school district to adapt to the changing numbers.
Right. Let's talk about like specifically maybe growth management, right? So Sandy has grown a ton. And a lot of people in the community feel like that growth hasn't been guided responsibly, hasn't been guided in a smart way, right? So we're having a lot of conversations about how do we manage this in a way that respects, the private property rights of landowners, to develop their property, but also utilizes things the city can do to see that growth and see that development happen in a way that aligns with the city's value or the community's values and priorities. So thinking specifically about that, about growth management, what do you think, what do you want to see? What do you think should change?
that's kind of,
Sorry, Don.
oh, no, please. go ahead.
I think I agree we need to maintain private property rights, but I think we make it too easy for large developers to come in here and build these multi-billion-dollar complexes that are allowing 3 to 4, 5, 6 people to move in at the same time into one unit. I definitely believe, you know, and I will be going to the city council about this later on. I definitely believe that we need to create some kind of ordinance that stops allowing all of the street parking, especially with the new Oregon law that makes it so that developers don't need to build driveways anymore. I mean, that's going to destroy our streets. It already makes our street sweeping, monthly street sweeping that we pay for useless, because he just goes around every car. And on my street alone, I can, on any given day I can count up to 20 cars parked on with between DeBarco and Evans Street, from people overfilling their driveway and just parking on the street. You know, and the street sweeper comes and he just has to go around over half of those cars because obviously he can't push them out of the way. So, you know, which in my opinion, it's kind of a waste for him to even be out here because he can't do it, the job that he's paid to do. We need to make it harder for the multi-residential developments to come in. You know, single family homes, I mean, that's what made Sandy small in the first place. That's what gives us our small town feeling. You know, we don't have a bunch of giant apartment complexes and, you know, duplexes and stuff like that. We have homes, we have families, we have people. We definitely need to upgrade our streets. I mean, Don mentioned, you know, not having a highway through it. You know, if ODOT's not going to help us maintain the streets and, you know, fix the lights and the walkways and stuff like that, then we've got to do something about it, because the amount of people that are moving into this town, I mean, especially, I mean, you got, what is that? Is it revenue? No. Industrial, I think. No. Over by Advanced Auto Parts. What's that street? What is that?
It's Reuben. Reuben Lane.
Reuben.
Lane.
Reuben. I mean, you got a huge development going in down there now, and then one right around the corner from it. I mean, that's going to destroy Reuben Lane. I mean, that's going to be
David,
the busiest.
that's why I moved. I lived on Reuben Lane. That's why I moved.
I mean, the traffic coming off of Reuben Lane is going to be unbelievable once those are done and built.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, our streets just can't handle the amount of growth that we're having. The traffic lights barely function in a timely manner now, where during rush hour, what Portland would call rush hour, I guess everybody's coming home. I mean, you can get stuck. It could take you 15 minutes to get from Fred Meyer's through the light on Bluff. I mean, that's horrible timing for a town like ours. So I don't know. It's just, I believe that we need growth. I mean, I don't believe we need growth. I know we have to grow to continue to survive, but we also need to fix what is broken before it becomes a serious issue. Kind of prime example is the sewer system. I mean, you know, that was an issue a long time ago, and it's just now being addressed after the point where it is failing. And I just don't think we need to let our streets get to the failing process before we wake up and say, hey, this is an issue and we need to fix it.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is making sure that our infrastructure keeps pace with growth. Yeah.
Yeah, but, you know, my point was that mentioned, you know, property owners' rights. Well, that's all good and fine, protect people's rights to develop their property. But what about people who are already living there, rights to not be negatively impacted by that development? The zoning laws were established to make sure that there were compatible uses next to each other, that you weren't, you know, dropping a 7-Eleven into the neighborhood, for instance, or a, you know, a smoke shop or whatever, area where they shouldn't be. So I think it's important that the city continue to recognize that yeah, people need to be able to manage their property, but it shouldn't be in a way that impacts others. David's point of you know, building these large complexes or allowing higher density, you know, lot development without adequate parking is absolutely true. That's a great example of how one person's rights can negatively impact the rest of the neighborhood. I think that finding that balance is the tricky part, but I think it's something we need to strive for.
Yeah, finding that balance is really hard. Because, I mean, we're the government, right? We don't have the right to tell a property owner that you can't use your property for economic gain, right?
Not necessarily true.
I mean, we have regulation space, right? We can enforce zoning regulations, but even our development code is limited in what we are and aren't allowed to regulate, right? And we don't necessarily want a big government. We don't necessarily want to have a government that makes a ton of rules. So it is tricky finding that right space, you know, that balance between respecting, you know, constitutional property rights and also making sure that, you know, what the city can do to encourage the kind of growth we want to see, that we're using those opportunities, right? That's the sweet spot we're looking for.
I think it's Will that said it, but allowing these multi-residential complexes to be built and allowing the growth that the city is growing at is exactly what's going to bring in the cookie cutter restaurants. And once they start, they're not going to stop. I mean, you know, we have a Domino's. I think that brings us to our 5th pizza joint in a 3-mile stretch. You know, it's bound to happen, especially if we keep growing the way we are. We're going to end up looking just like Gresham.
Yeah.
And
So
you know,
maintaining that identity is really important. The identity of being Sandy and not being someplace that just looks like everybody else is really important. Yeah. Anything else? Anything else that should be improved?
It's fine, right?
No? Okay. Well, I try to make myself as accessible as possible. So if you think of other things, right, other answers to these questions that you want to make sure get captured as part of this visioning process, you are more than welcome to call me, send me an email. We can chat about any of these topics. I love having these conversations with members of the community. It's why I wanted to get into city planning. It's why I love being a planner, is this kind of on the ground collaboration is really important to me. Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. I brought stickers if you guys want. Sandy stickers.
Well, that's
I can
nice.
give you one, right? Or do you want another one? Oh, yeah, that'd be perfect. Sorry, I thought I gave you one.
So before we leave this topic, I did.
Oh, that's
receive
not fair. No one told me I was going to get a sticker if I showed up.
Hey, you gotta show we get the goods. But there's an opportunity for you. I was contacted by Kelly O'Neill, the planning department director. And he had asked me about getting a representative from the Parks and Trails Committee board to sit on the Citizens Advisory Committee for this very process. What he has told me is that it would involve maybe a half a dozen meetings. There would be approximately 90 minutes in length. And that it would, the first one would be on or about July 20th at 6:30 p.m. He asked if I could appoint somebody, a representative from our board, to join them. And so what I would like to do is kind of offer up the opportunity for anybody that wants to volunteer to be appointed to that group. I can tell you that I did volunteer and served on the Transportation Citizens Advisory Committee. It would be very similar to that, and it wasn't too terribly painful. And so I would think it'll kind of follow along that same course. So would anybody be interested in representing us?
How often are the meetings?
About every other month.
Going until what time period? Just curious.
So we've had 2 meetings already. I think we have 6 more.
Okay,
So it would be a commitment of about a year.
got it. I'm going on maternity leave in December, so And that I would totally volunteer, but I may have some hiccups there.
Even if you need to miss a couple of meetings, that's totally fine.
Yeah, if nobody else wants to, I'm happy to represent. It'll be a good opportunity.
David or Will, are you guys okay?
I would love to, but this time of year, it's
It's down the cards.
it's yeah. I mean, we already know that I'm in baseball and cheerleading's about to start and football's about to start, and it's hard enough at this point.
And how about you, Will? Are you there? Did we lose you?
We did.
Well, Alex, congratulations.
Thanks.
I hereby appoint you.
That sounds great.
If you could send me or Kelly or both of us Alex's email address, and then Alex, I'll get in contact with you about the information for the meeting in July.
Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, and thank you guys. This is fantastic.
Thank you.
This is great insight, great information. Well, I think we're gonna knock out. As exciting as reviewing development applications is, it's the rest of my job. So, yeah.
There's nothing in that chat. But that's, I think, one from Lori. Just texted to see.
Maybe lost.
Yeah, thank you. This is the first time I've been to a Parks Board meeting in person.
Oh, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys.
And thanks for the sticker too. That was wonderful.
Of course.
They're amazing.
You texted. Anyway, well,
Responding to a question, and then I did
Just
check.
rub it in about the amazing stickers. I hear it.
Hey, I'll keep it safe for you. Come down to the community center anytime and I'll give you mine.
I am not gonna do that. I'm keeping mine. It's going right in my water bottle, I think.
I'll take you up on that.
There we go. Well, while we're waiting for Will to go ahead and reconnect with us, why don't we go ahead and move on to our next topic, which is the Vista Loop subdivision. Item 6.1.
Okay, so Emily and I are tag teaming this topic. I'm gonna share my screen really quick with everyone because I've got a slideshow that will help guide the conversation. And then Emily, I'm gonna introduce you really quick and then eventually, if they have questions, hand it over to you. But Emily is a senior planner with, I'm not sure if I got your title quite right, but she's the planning, the planner on record for this. And so she has joined us tonight for both of our topics. So can everybody see the slideshow?
I can see it.
Yes?
Yes,
I see it.
Great. Okay, it's gonna be slightly out of order because we changed up the agenda slightly, but just quickly giving you an overview of the Vista Loop subdivision. This was in the staff report. There was a pre-application meeting that was held on June 2nd. And any input that we discuss tonight will be submitted in writing to planning. So that's part of what we're gonna do. So this was submitted on April 29th, 2022 by Maria Miller, AKS Engineering and Forestry. And it's called the Vista Loop subdivision, and it's plus or minus 73 lot residential subdivision, which is intended for future construction of single family detached homes. And there's 3 open tracks. So you can see here the location of Vista Loop. The section in yellow is the area that's for the proposed development. And so there was a series of questions in the pre-application that were asked. And we're gonna go through this really quick and then we'll end with discussion and recommendations from staff and then a discussion by the Parks Board. So does the 2022 Parks and Trails Master Plan show a future park in this location? And that was one of the questions that was asked by the applicant. And the answer is yes. In this area here, you can see this is where Vista Loop, the proposed development would land. And its neighborhood park number 8 is indeed in the Parks and Trails Master Plan. The second bit of information is the question was, does the Park and Trails Master Plan show a future trail? And will the project be required to accommodate a future trail? And you can see here in the Parks and Trails Master Plan, T22 is a future proposed trail that would run through the area of the Vista Loop. Should I fast forward? Okay. Another question that they had asked is city staff had indicated that it was planned to increase the multiplier listed in the code from 0.0043 to 0.0053. And the answer is on June 6th, there was a public hearing to adopt the code changes 1732 and 1786, which this group was part of the process of reviewing and providing feedback for those code amendments. The ordinance was actually adopted on June 6th via an emergency ordinance. And so those code changes are in effect as of Monday. That multiplier will be increased to 0.0068. That's more for informational purposes because this will come into question and apply to a future discussion that we have here because our multiplier is going up. So the applicant asked to be advised if the active parkland obligation can be satisfied by payment of fee in lieu. So I just want to paint a picture for the Parks Board as far as what fee in lieu would have looked like had we used the multiplier of 0.0043. Fee in lieu would have been $226,000. If we use our new multiplier that was adopted on Monday via the emergency ordinance, the fee in lieu would be $359,000. If the Parks Board were to recommend a parkland dedication, we would receive approximately 0.94 acres. Because our multiplier has increased because of the code adoption, we would be receiving 1.5 acres with parkland adoption. So to note, the SDC fee in lieu methodology is being updated and it's going to be reviewed. It was the one that we reviewed on our May 5th meeting where FCS had come in and presented all the different information for us. And this could result in a higher fee in lieu multiplier. And so this ultimately is a policy decision made by council, and we're hoping to take that for council for adoption in September.
Wait, so before we move off this slide,
Mhm.
what I'm hearing you say is as of just the other day, 2 days ago, we went up to 0.0068. So the true answer to this question is 1.5 acres, right?
Yep, for parkland dedication. Yeah.
Now, if it is adopted for the new another new multiplier, then it will go up yet again.
So the 0.068 will not.
Okay,
However, the fee in lieu
we'll go.
will go up.
Okay.
Any other questions on that slide? Okay. So staff recommendation, so visiting the site and looking at the Parks and Trails Master Plan and that there's a neighborhood park listed as a future park in that area and the multiplier increasing, staff is recommending that the Parks and Trails Advisory Board, that there's future development should accommodate for the trail that's listed through the property, and then also recommend parkland dedication as opposed to fee in lieu. And that is the end of my quick presentation, and Emily is available to answer any more complicated questions. She's the expert in this field. So if the Parks and Trails Advisory Board would like to discuss parkland dedication versus fee in lieu, and then what we land on as what you land on as an advisory board will be put in writing and submitted to Emily for consideration. With that, I'll turn it back over to Dawn. If there's any.
Did Will return?
Go ahead, Dawn.
Let me see if Will texts me.
Emily, would you like to chime in?
I mean, I think Rochelle covered it pretty well. I think one thing I'll just emphasize is that, so the way we kind of approach planning overall is we usually start with one of these pre-application meetings. So this, they have not actually submitted this as an application to the city yet. They just met with us preliminarily to get kind of preliminary feedback. So they may come through and submit a subdivision application. They might submit exactly what they submitted. Most likely they won't. They'll most likely make some changes based on the feedback we've given them. So one of those things that could get reflected in like an updated proposal would be like where the park would be. If, you know, right now they were not proposing any parkland. So if you were to recommend parkland, then in theory, once we pass that comment along, if they were to come back with an actual proposal and application, they might put that in, and then you would have a second chance to review it at that stage when it's an actual applicant. We would send out notice to Rochelle, and then she would pass it along to you guys to kind of review again. And like I said, it would most likely be different at that point. So it's sort of a two-phase process, could even draw out even longer. But this is sort of the preliminary first stab at giving feedback to them.
I have a question, Alex. Because we already, like on the master plan, we had a park possibly in that location. Does that change anything via our plan versus saying we ask you to dedicate land? Just curious of how that works.
Rochelle, you want to take a shot at it, or do you want me to answer that?
You go ahead, because I think I was trying to figure out what the.
You know, the way they couched their question on that was that, well, originally you had a park identified on this piece of land, but now you don't. The reality is we still do. We do have a neighborhood park for that area identified. We don't identify individual lots because that becomes a takings issue when they do that. So that's why we've switched to saying, okay, we're deficient in this area, we need a neighborhood park. From my perspective, my personal perspective, you know, our standard is 2 to 5 acres for a neighborhood park. With our new multipliers, we're guaranteed at least 1.5 acres of those 2 acres. One of the strategies oftentimes is to be able to identify where that acreage would be, and if we could find it as adjacent to a property line that may someday develop and be able to add on to that and achieve that 2 to 5 acre range. So I guess if I'm answering your question correctly, Alex, I think that we're covered as far as wanting a neighborhood park. I think that our new language says that it's kind of our choice as to whether it's parkland or fee in lieu. And I think that from my perspective, I would suggest that we go with the land on this one, because we don't really have any. It's a pretty isolated neighborhood out there, and there is no existing parks, yet there are a couple of rather sizable apartment complexes within that neighborhood, although there are some large lots out there too. So I think that from our master plan perspective, we should look at wanting to add that acreage to our inventory. Did I answer your question or just garble it up a lot?
No, you answered it. Thanks. That
Okay.
makes a lot more sense to me now. So yeah, that's great.
I think we are finding ourselves in too little.
And I see, Don, I mean, that's where I kind of disagree at though. That's such a remote area. No one from the city is actually going to use that park except the residents that live in that housing development. And therefore it really should be the housing development's responsibility to create a playground area for them to use. I mean, Vista Loop is so far, I mean, you're not going to have kids that are going to walk up the highway and get to that park. So I mean, no one from the city is going to go up there. So
and I'll be the devil's advocate, and I'll be a devil's advocate for you. If we were able to get 5 acres of land and build a ball field on it, would you feel the same way?
No, obviously, I mean, because I mean, people drive to the ball fields. We don't walk to the ball fields. So I mean,
right.
You got me on that one. But you know, I took as your land is more wanting to, because I think it didn't say we could only have 1.49 acres.
We can only guarantee ourselves 1.5 acres right now, but we do have other areas out there that maybe we can add on to that 1.5 acres.
Okay. All right. No, I mean, you most definitely got me on that one, because you know, we definitely drive to the ball fields. I've never walked to the ball fields. You know, my son alone carries 2 bags, and I don't want to carry either one of them. So,
You're a man after my own heart on that one. I was going to say that, you know, I think the guidance that we are offering tonight is more in the form of discussion. Will has, for whatever reason, dropped off our meeting, so technically we can't make a formal recommendation. We no longer have a quorum. At the same time, they haven't even made a formal application. They've come
Okay.
in and they've had a pre-app. So once they do that pre-app, I think that it will come back to us, is what I heard Emily say. And I think that our discussion is enough for Emily to know, to be able to tell the potential applicant that we would definitely be more interested in, that we may be more interested in land, depending on where it's located and how usable it is for us. I don't want to get a bunch of slopes. I don't want a bunch of wetlands. I don't want a bunch of areas that we can't
Yeah,
develop.
definitely.
But if we can get a piece that can be added on to, that's flat enough to be graded into a ball field or some other type of sports facility or some other amenity that we're short of, I think that that's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I'll stay quiet at this point. You definitely had me by the earlobe, so.
I didn't mean to tug on your ears, so we'll leave that.
So,
What other feedback are we hearing? Any, Alex, do you have any other questions?
No, I have no other questions. It makes sense to me. I would go for the land as well, but do we know what happened to Will?
I emailed him a couple times and I haven't heard back, so I hope,
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully it's okay.
we don't talk about Bruno's situation.
Emily, did we give you enough on that one that you at least have an idea of something you can say?
Yeah, I mean, we already held a meeting, so at this point, like I would, you either would kind of draft a brief, 2-sentence memo that I can forward over to them, or probably just the meeting minute notes would even suffice.
I think we could, maybe staff can kind of summarize our general discussion, but because we don't have a quorum, we can't take action.
Right. Okay.
Okay. All righty. So we move on to our next subdivision. Rochelle.
Great. All right, so the next one in front of you is the Bornstead View subdivision. And this actually has come before the Parks Board, actually August 11th of 2021. And the Parks Board reviewed this. At the time it came before the Parks Board, it was a 42 lot subdivision. And the Parks and Trails Advisory Board supported at that time a fee in lieu. And one of the reasons that was actually summarized and submitted in a memo to planning was because the property is located between two existing neighborhood parks. So 0.3 miles from Bornstead Park and 0.1 miles from Cascadia. On May 24th of 2022, Mac Evan and Evan Better Homes submitted an updated application. And one of the updates was it's now a 43 lot subdivision. And so here's the location of the where the Bornstead View subdivision is located. And then part of what this proposal included was a trail running through this track A. And you can see here that in the Parks and Trails Master Plan, Trail T48 does run or is located through the property, the subject property. The Parks and Trails Master, the Park and Trail Master Plan does show right here. Here's Bornstead. Does someone have a question? Okay, so Bornstead, you have Cascadia here, and this is the proposed development. So you can see the proximity of the already existing parks. And then proposed future parks. This is the property. And you can see here, there aren't any proposed future parks in that area because it does meet the level of service for that area. And so staff's recommendation for the Parks and Trails Advisory Board to discuss is, should the Parks Board continue to support a fee in lieu over parkland dedication for the updated application of Bornstead View's proposed development? And does the Parks and Trails Advisory Board support the future development of Bornstead Views to accommodate the proposed trail as illustrated in slide 16? So without further, my presentation's done. If Emily has anything she wants to add, I'll hand it back over to the chair.
Emily, what you got for us?
I'll just emphasize that this one is an actual live active land use application. So it is more formal. This is something that is being proposed and will be reviewed by the Planning Commission at the end of the month, and they'll make a decision. regarding whether to approve it or deny it. And then typically with the approval would come a number of conditions of approval. So yeah, I mean, as planning staff, we would agree with what Rochelle has said in that Bornstead Park and Cascadia Park are very close, so it doesn't seem like there's a need for parkland. This one, what they applied for it prior to the code changes, so it would still be calculated at the old fee in lieu. But we would recommend the fee in lieu, and then we would also recommend the trail. Our code requires a bicycle and pedestrian cut through trail on blocks that are more than 600 feet long. And so a trail of some sort would be required anyway, just through that code, regardless of whether it's in the Parks and Trails Master Plan. But this one actually wouldn't qualify technically for what we would consider the parks and or the bike ped access way, because the bike ped access way has to be paved, and this trail will be like a 6-foot soft surface wood chip or gravel. So, but we would be from planning in support of it because it meets the intent of our connectivity code.
Okay. The question I asked Rochelle just now was in the event, first of all, again, because we don't have a quorum, we can't change our minds at this meeting per se. We can't make a motion to modify our recommendation. So right now, the only recommendation you have is the one we did back when it first came to us, which was fee in lieu. Given, and what I heard Emily say was we can't even use our updated calculated numbers of 00 or 0.0018 or 81, whichever it was, for land dedication. It would be under the old numbers. So it would be a very small portion of it. I am a little bit curious if we could go back and put the plat on the deal. It shows two lots, one of them a retention pond, and then there's another giant lot right next to it of like an acre. Emily, what's the story on that one lot? Oh, go back one.
Yeah, that's a good question. So you're talking about lot 27. So essentially our code requires that any new platted lot has street frontage. And so they've essentially designed lot 27 to like kind of crammed it in the middle, basically to have enough street frontage on Maple. So it needs a minimum of 20 feet, but it would be accessed by the flagpole on lot 19 there. So and they're really, I would imagine, just trying to get as many lots on as they can.
So it's difficult terrain, is that what you're saying? Why it ended up being a giant lot?
It's steep slopes, and then actually kind of near where the trail is, which I'm sure the trail will just have to sort of be ground truthed a bit, but there is a at least intermittent stream that flows through there and then continues through where between lot 10 and 11, and there's a little bit of a wetland, and then it connects further north where we have, you know, wetland and a stream running. So yeah, there's sort of a little bit of a slope, I think, leading down to that stream, and lot 27 just has some topography. It's got some of the retention trees on it. But really, in terms of the design, the reason it's sort of like that is it just needed frontage on a street, and it needs to be accessed kind of from a different street, basically.
Where is this development at? I think I missed this one.
Yeah, south of Cascadia Village.
Oh, it's next to
Right across from
Cascadia
our
Village.
building.
Okay.
Right, if you go down Bornstead, David, if you head south on Bornstead, and you go up to the brand new street Maple, you can only turn right onto Maple now while you're heading south on Bornstead.
Yeah, I see where it's at.
Yeah, I would just extend Maple. That's pretty.
Keep getting muted somehow. Isn't that the one they already started down on Bornstead, or is this a separate one?
This is a separate one. I live on the Maple Street, on the other side.
Okay.
So that's fully developed and everybody lives there now. So yeah, this is right across from it.
I think they may have taken down a few trees, but that's about it. So really what we can do tonight is we can either say, well, okay, we already have a recommendation for fee and lieu on this one. If we want to change that, we can schedule it for our next meeting and hopefully have a quorum to be able to discuss it and make a change. Otherwise, we kind of stand pat. But what are you guys' feelings, David and Alex?
I like the current recommendation, regardless, so.
Okay, and how about you, David?
Yeah, I mean, that big empty brown field there looks great for a baseball field, you know. But current recommendation is fine by me.
Yeah, unfortunately, that big brown field is kind of rolling. It would be difficult to grade into a baseball field.
Wasn't that whole section rolling before they brought bulldozers into it?
Probably.
There was a whole lot of dirt that was being brought down Bornstead when they were building that one development.
When will this be going to the planning commission?
I think it's June 27th, if that's a Monday.
Okay, well, at this point, I think that we'll have to let our initial correspondence and action stand.
Okay, that works.
Okay. Thank you very much. Do you have anything else for us tonight? No?
Nope.
Okay.
Unless you have any questions about planning.
I do not. All righty. Well, that is, I just lost my agenda. Thank you. With that, we have staff updates.
Great, John, you want to go first and provide an update?
Sure. So here at the Community and Senior Center, we have hired a new building monitor that they started on Monday. And with that, we are opening our building for rentals again. So we have our kitchen, dining room, auditorium, art room open for rentals anytime until 10 p.m. 7 days a week. We just posted on the city website, I believe on Facebook and a variety of other places, another position for our recreation coordinator. I think that position's open for 2 weeks and then that process will go through. That is it as far as staffing is concerned. Want me to continue just talking about what's going on, or is that for a later time?
No, yes, please do.
Oh, and just the staffing and what we're doing here. We've been super busy getting ready for the summer and just figuring out how to market what's going on with all the staff turnover that was happening in the building, not being open to public. Unfortunately, we didn't have a summer rec guide going out. And so we've been marketing all of our events, so kind of in two separate areas. We have our events coming up. We've got Longest Day Parkway. We've got Noah's Quest. We've got our 4th of July. We've got the Mountain Festival, obviously. We've got the Summer Cinema and Sounds, which is 2 concerts and 2 movies that are going to be shown at Mining Park, and just getting our posters out and our website updated and the word out to the community for all those. Then working within our staff to really create our own kind of mission and vision statement for our departments, and creating some SMART goals around what our fall program looks like, and really boosting up our fall programming so that we have a fall rec guide and that we are operating at full capacity to serve our community as much as we can. It's really on our end. Do you want me to speak in more detail to Longest Day Parkway since they have a booth in it?
Yeah, and if we have something to hand out if you were here in person. So not only do you get a sticker, but we have something that your booth is going to hand out.
Sorry, David, we have
Sorry,
more
David.
swag than you can have. But at the Longest Day Parkway, your booth is going to have a stamp. So when they come by with their passports, they talk to you, they get a stamp, but you also get to give out these awesome magnets. It's hard to see. I'll hold it up. It says, "I heart Sandy Parks." And we have gifts for everyone that maintains here. Hey. And then you'll also have a big tag boards with your parks and trail system to interact with the community about that as well.
And where exactly is our booth going to be located? because I was unable to open that map that was sent.
Now, can you share the one you just shared with me, since you're up there, they can see it too, the one the library sent you.
Take me a second.
The times on that are from,
That's 6:30 to 8.
I'm planning on being at the booth, or David or Alex, are you guys gonna be able to join me?
I'm actually unable to go. I'll be camping.
Oh,
sadly.
no.
So I won't be able to make it this time.
How about you, David? You gonna come hang out?
I'll bring you a sticker and a magnet.
I'm trying, I'm just not saying I'm gonna be there because my son got put into All-Stars. And so pretty much all of my weekends are gone and some of my weekdays, because now they went from 1 hour practices to 2 hour practices. And as he just said, he has practice tomorrow. So I'm pretty much not in control of my own life anymore. So
Because I'm a bit.
I would like to show up and I'm going to do my best. I just don't know. I can't like say for sure I'm gonna be there because I don't know what his schedule is yet.
Not a problem. I think Willis said he'd be okay. So I think we're okay if you can't make it.
And here to answer your question, Dawn, is there's the map. I don't know if folks can see it. And then your booth number,
One.
Parks Board is number 8.
Hey, I see Parks and Recreation as number 1 right there. What's going on?
Yeah, we're having it's a nice friendly competition with the other departments on booths. So we're already starting out at number 1.
Yeah. So the Parks Board will be at number 8.
Yep.
Stop number 8, which is, I can't wait.
You know, I'll send this out to the Parks Board. And then we can take a look at a little bit closer. It's a little hard to see.
Yeah, no problem.
Cool.
All righty. And any other staff updates?
Yes, I'm gonna hand it over to Yana to talk a little bit about what's going on with parks, and she's our fearless leader over there, so you wanna update on some parks? Related items?
We've been very, very busy in our parks, trying to get everything cleaned up and ready for the summer. We have hired one seasonal employee who is working out wonderful for us and helping us out a lot. June 1st, we closed the dog park, the large and the small section, down for a renovation. We put down new seed and fertilizer and soil, and the large park will open again on June 15th and the small will open on June 30th, hopefully healthy and strong again. We are working up at Cascadia Park and just refreshing things up there, painting, trimming, and just getting it really nice looking for the longest day.
Great.
And lots of repairs going on at Mining to get it ready for Mountain Festival, and still hopefully on track to restore that parking lot before Mountain Festival.
Excellent.
I vote we just put fish in Mining Lake and call it good. I mean,
And paddle boats.
Paddle boats would be nice too.
yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, it's a short ride, from Wolf Street to Mining, but hey, it'll still be fun.
And then I'll just add a few things here real quick. The RFP for the community campus did go public, and we're having a high level of interest, which is great. That RFP closes July 14th. And so I'll keep the Parks Board posted on how that process is going. Just a reminder, that is the RFP that talks about the design bid and build for the park portion of it, and a concept side of it for the aquatic and recreation portion of it, which is the front part of the community campus. And then just as a reminder, the SDC methodology. So I'm working with FCS in an implementation plan, and we're going to put it before the Parks Board July 13th, but it's going to demonstrate how we could potentially incrementally raise SDC and fee in lieu with FCS, which is our consultant guiding us through that process, using the Parks Board to provide input and talk us through that. And then it'll go to the council July 18th, and then adoption September 6th is what we're hoping. Yep. And then we do have interviews on Monday for the Parks and Trails Advisory Board vacant positions. So that is coming up. We're hoping to fill 2 of our vacant positions. That is the conclusion of my report.
All right. So keep your dance cards open on Monday if you can. And with that, our meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, guys. Have a good time.